Hello, welcome back to the podcast slash YouTube channel if you're watching this on video. I'm Rennie. For those who don't know me, this is my podcast, mental health podcast. I'm just gonna jump right in. Um, I want to talk about surrender, learning to let go, learning to surrender, because well, that is the stage of life that I have entered. It has been a season, okay? It's been a season. Shout out to my fellow mutable signs, and Sagittarius in particular, because eclipse season is really just tearing me up, tearing my behind up right now. Let me just blow some bubbles to reset my nervous system real quick. Okay, I had to blow some bubbles because that's I have to do something each day to kind of like get my inner child regulated because this season of life has been something else. And it feels both chaotic and positive at the same time. And it's been insane. But I want to talk about surrender and learning to let go because I am someone who struggled with being a control freak for so long. And this year has been like the year where, when there are like certain things that you feel like you've had control over, you like like you have a sense of the path and direction that you're taking. But then there's a part of you too that knows that some of the things, at least if you sat with yourself, right? Like if you're self-aware, you know that some of the things that you put up with, like it's just not for you, right? Like you just know, like you've known it, but like you pushed yourself anyway. And I feel like something that I have historically done as someone who's a control freak, um, is kind of, I don't see myself as a people pleaser at all by any means, but there have been times where I knew I was in environments or in relationships or friendships or in situations that just weren't for me. And I just did it anyway because it was like kind of the routine. I think that sometimes, unfortunately, we can get into the habit of becoming too comfortable. And I have recently just really accepted the fact that I'm an evolver. I think that there are people who are more fixed in life and there are people who are continuously evolving. Me personally, I think that we're all changing and evolving in some way, but I think that there's a difference between people who kind of just do it organically and people who are very intentional about it. And I feel like I'm the type of person that's extremely intentional. I am not okay. I'm not mentally okay if I'm not intentionally growing and changing and becoming better and growing into better versions of myself. And so I feel like I'm just like going through so many deaths and rebirths all the time. And I am able to see like how my mental health recovery has been like a catalyst for that shift to happen. But now, this year especially, I have just been like kind of forced into surrendering. And as someone who's a control freak, I think that for a long time, I confused surrender with giving up. So like if I was in an environment, for example, that I knew wasn't working for me, but like I wanted to try to help, I wanted to try to do my best to like make the type of impact that I want to make and just like I don't want to say I had the attitude of I could fix it, but I realized that I did take that on. So even though I didn't consider myself a people pleaser, I was definitely in relationships and in like work environments and just in spaces where I knew it wasn't for me, but I was convincing myself that by being present and showing up and trying, like I could change it, I could fix it, I could like shift it somehow. And like my persistence would be a problem at some point because it's like, this is not for me. It's not for me. It's not aligned. It's not like I'm not supposed to be in this relationship or in this environment, but I'm forcing it because I want to be in control and I don't want to feel like I'm giving up. Like that's a problem that I have is that I feel like I'm determined to a fault. I'm determined to a place where it becomes like unhealthy for myself and sometimes even for the other people or spaces because it's like this is not in alignment and I'm forcing it to be when it's not. And one thing that I've been learning throughout this entire year is just how to just be like, I'm done. Just surrender and let go and trust that like the things, the people, the spaces, the opportunities really that are really meant for me will come. And I feel like I see a lot of content about this, but like whenever I'm seeing motivational content, and this is why I don't want to really be pegged as a motivational speaker because I'm not. I'm just literally sharing from my experiences as immensely ill and healing um spiritual person, right? Um for me, I get annoyed by motivational content around this because I feel like just a lot of content lacks nuance. It makes it sound so easy and it also kind of feels like it's blaming you, like it's everything's your fault, you know? Like we live in systems that fucking suck, okay? So it's not all your fault, okay? If you are a control freak, odds are you probably, and this is not the case for everybody, but like odds are there were probably so many experiences in your life that fell out of your control. And so this is how you have survived now. It's becoming someone who has to be in control, right? That's the case for me. I have a bunch of childhood trauma. You can look at the previous episodes if you want any type of understanding of what's going on up in here. But that's the case for me. I had a very, very, very dysfunctional childhood, very fucking unstable, and I have a lot of severe illnesses as a result that I've been healing from. And I feel like for me, as an anxious Black girly, one way that's kind of presented for me that I feel like, I don't know if it presents this way for everybody or if it's perceived, the way that it's perceived for me, like as a Black anxious woman, is not like, oh, you're like scared or whatever. Like, no one ever thinks that. Everyone always thinks that I'm confident. But the way that it presents to me is, for me, is control. Like I need to control my like how I'm being perceived. I need to control like the outcomes of situations. Part of the reason why I'm so spiritual, I feel like it's because it's become a means of control. Part of the reason I'm so interested in things like astrology and personality, like all of these things are like a way for me to make sense of things and to control. So that is this lesson right now that I'm in of just learning how to let go and surrender is really fucking me up. It's really, really, really messing with me right now because I'm having such a hard time doing this and I'm literally just here to vent about how difficult it is. I don't have any solid advice. I just want to say that if you are someone who have adopted control as a means of coping, then surrender and letting go, that process is going to be so hard. But if you're someone who is intentionally trying to build your dream life and trying to live your happiest, healthiest, most fulfilled life, then it's something you have to learn. And I'm so sorry to be the messenger and be the one to tell you that, but like you got to learn how to surrender and let go because that's the way that you make space for the things and the people and the opportunities that are really meant for you. And it's also the way that you trust and trust is a big part of this journey of life. Like I have recently kind of connected the dots because all I do is sit around and analyze, which is part of the problem. Like that's part of the problem is I need to stop sitting around and analyzing everything and go out and live life. But I have a hard time doing that because that requires you have to let go. You have to let loose, you know? And it's funny because I feel like I'm perceived oftentimes as this wild person that's just out, just being crazy. I am at home in the bed, on the couch, at my desk 99% of the time. And that's just the truth. I am not out in these streets, okay? I feel like I've been perceived that way because of how I, communicate with the world. And it's funny to me because I'm like, y'all have no idea who I am, huh? I am at home and I'm in my head like all the time. This is how I became insane and how I've gotten to places where I've lost touch with reality is because I am not out living life. I am like controlling narratives and like just in my head, right? And that's just how like my mental illnesses have presented for me for a long time. Like I would be very disassociated. I would lose touch and then as I was recovering and thinking I was getting better, there have been times where I would re-enter these dissociative states or like just be so out of touch and not even be aware. Like I'm just so not grounded and it's something that I've been working on, but part of like learning to surrender is actually being present. And that's something that is so hard for me as someone who has struggled with maladaptive daydreaming, struggled with disassociating. Like, I have to make a conscious effort to be present. Like, even now, like, even when I'm recording, like, I'm like looking all over the place. And okay, so just this is gonna be all over the place. So just pretend like you're just on a FaceTime call with me or on a call with me. This is gonna be just all over the place. I was walking around the city. I live in San Diego, and I came across this person who has antisocial personality disorder, which is like um usually you're diagnosed as a sociopath or a psychopath. And I've been in mental hospitals. I have come across other people with antisocial personality disorder. As someone who has borderline personality disorder, aka BPD, I kind of, this is gonna sound crazy, so hear me out, okay? Don't get scared away yet. I kind of like people with antisocial personality disorder because for one, me personally, I've just always been fascinated by sociopaths and psychopaths. I mentioned in the past before that my family has gone through some really horrific things, and I feel like a lot of us kind of got into true crime as a result of that. And I feel like for me, I always wanted to understand like the thought behind someone who would be a serial killer or kill people that they don't know. I think I just always wanted to understand like what a sociopath is like. And then also the older I got and the more I struggled with my own mental illnesses, I would go into these I would have psychotic episodes and I would go into these states where I was super apathetic. This is gonna come back around, so just please bear with me. I am not neurotypical. Um And so in those moments when I would be kind of like really disassociative and really apathetic, sometimes I wondered if I was a sociopath or a psychopath. I'm not gonna lie. And then every time I would talk to like a doctor or someone, they'd be like, you would not be asking this question if you were. I'm like, I mean, who knows? You can be self-aware. I don't know. Anyway, moral of the story is no. The answer is no, I'm not. But I've found people with antisocial personality disorder to be fascinating. I want to understand what it's like to move through the world with little to no empathy. And whenever I've been in those states where I am completely apathetic, it's very interesting how I show up in the world versus when I'm in my regulated states or when I'm on the flip side of that, I'm overly emotional or empathetic and taking on other people's emotions. So it's really interesting to me. Anyway, I was talking to this person and they had come across other people, other, women with BPD in particular. And it was really interesting because I was like, can you tell when I'm disassociating? They were like, yeah. And I'm like, my eyes are like all over the place. Mind you, I have also been told I could have autism. So like there's so many different labels that have been thrown my way and reasons to try to make sense of my behaviors. But I have to be really intentional with being present. And it's so like noticeable to this, like it's gotten so severe that I feel like it's noticeable. At least to those who are like actually paying attention, because some people are just talking just to talk and they're not really paying attention. But for those who do, people who are observers and who pay attention, it's noticeable. And it's something that as I've become more aware of, I realize has been really hindering my ability to let go. Because even when I go out with the intention to, it just happens naturally. Um, I don't know if anybody else has this issue, but like I could literally, I think driving is one of those things where a lot of people disassociate. So maybe you can, if you've experienced that, then this is how I feel all the time. You're in a car and you're like, I got to this place. I don't know how I got to this place. I don't even remember the drive. I don't remember the buildings I passed. I don't remember the streets. I don't remember anything. And it's part of the reason why I have to use like a GPS, just because like I don't remember unless I go the same route like 50 times. I'm so disassociated. And so this is something that I've been actively working on, going outside, being in the grass, grounding and being present. Because until I learn how to be present and feel safe in the present moment, it's not going to be possible to surrender. And at this stage of life, I have no choice because what I have learned about trying to heal and live like your most fulfilling life is that you have to be willing to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices and those leaps of faith that you have to take require some level of surrender and trust. You know, whether it's trust in yourself, trust in a higher power, or whatever. It requires some level of surrender and trust. And I'm learning that, you know, as I'm like reading these books and I'm listening to these podcasts and I'm witnessing other people that I personally feel like they live in their truth and they're following their path, and they're not sticking to the status quo, because I know that in my heart of hearts, I'm not the type of person that can do that and be okay and be happy and healthy. I can't do that. I can't settle. I genuinely can't. I lose my shit every time. And I think part of my mental health journey has been learning that I'm that type of person that can't do that. I can't be comfortable staying in environments that I've outgrown, staying in relationships that I've outgrown. I can't do that. I will lose my mind. Like literally, I will end up in the psych ward 5150, not joking. So I have to make sacrifices and take leaps of faith. And so the end of 2022, I quit. You know, I was working, I'm a publicist. I was working in tech agencies for years, quit my job, cold turkey, didn't have a plan. Would not recommend that because I also have a child with special needs. It was really difficult, right? At the time, I did have savings I could get by, but it was difficult. I was in a relationship in a marriage where it's like I was shouldering the financial burden. I didn't have the support I needed. I don't come from a wealthy family. It was really difficult, but I don't regret it because I knew that wasn't for me. And this was like the catalyst of me learning how to choose myself. And then fast forward to this year, there were so many things between that period of time till now where it was just kind of like shedding, you know, like that season of my life was just completely shedding. And it's not done. I'm still in it. I'm still doing it right now. But it's like once that started, it just kept going. Like that it was a catalyst. It was a canon event. And it became, oh, this friendship? No, not for you. Oh, this relationship? No, not for you. Oh, this client? No, not for you. And so it was like thing after thing, everything started to go. And it's felt very destabilizing for me, but the more those things leave, the more good things are replaced. Like I had a friendship breakup and it was a really draining relationship. It felt to me very one-sided, even though I felt like the other person was trying for it not to feel that way. And I felt like back then, like the version of myself that had entered into that dynamic was completely different than the person that I was becoming. I was not interested in gossip, and I had historically, I've been someone who has centered men a lot, but at some point I got sick of it. And I was like, I just want to focus on myself and healing. And I don't care about gossiping. I don't care what other people are doing. I'm not trying to be centering men and always talking about men. And now this dynamic feels draining because now I'm just listening to all of their issues and I'm not resonating. And I don't really feel like I have someone to talk to about what it is that I'm going through and where I'm at. And I feel like the second I expressed that, it was just done, you know, and it's been painful. I'm not gonna lie. Like anytime I've spoken my truth, it's just been like met either with silence, complete silence, or like defensiveness. And it's like, I'm just saying how I feel. Like I am a human being that's living my life too, and I'm trying to figure this shit out too. And it's honestly made me angry. And I feel like that anger, once I started to accept that, like I've tolerated so much bullshit that I don't deserve when I've just been trying to be an authentic, honest human being, that was an even greater catalyst, right? So all of these things are connected because the more that I really leaned into the truth of who I am, what I really wanted, what doesn't work for me in all areas of my life, the more my life started to change and things started to come into alignment. But I think on the outside, that can be perceived as things falling apart. It can look like, oh, they're like life is falling apart. It can feel like that too, honestly. But what's crazy is that I'm starting to feel more liberated, more myself, more confident. more self-love. So even if my life doesn't look like the status quo, for me, my goal is not to have a life that looks like the status quo anyway. My goal is to live a life where I'm fulfilled and happy. And I feel like once we kind of come to terms with like what it is we genuinely want out of this life, then we don't really care about what it takes to get there anymore. So the one thing that I know right now has been holding me back is my inability to let go when it's time. Like, or just like feel like I delay it so much to where it kind of becomes impossible. And I know I'm not the only one who does this. Like, you've been in friendships or relationships where it's like, this is not for you. And you're pushing it either because like you really care about this person or you have known them for a long time, or you feel a sense of obligation, or there's some type of like morality or some type of values, whatever the reason, it's like, it's been past time to let it go, and you haven't, for whatever reason, you haven't. And so that has happened to me all year, except, okay, and I have to throw this in, me being a spiritual girly, I feel like spirit has not given me a choice. I don't know who else feels this way. And again, that's why I say shout out to my mutable signs who are navigating eclipse season. My big three are all mutable. So like my life is changing this year. I came into 2025 knowing that, but like, yeah, yeah. Like I am not in a marriage anymore. I'm not in the same space anymore. I'm not in the same job. Literally every aspect of my life is changing. And I have no choice but to surrender because I waited too long. Like everything is coming to a head. And I feel like that's what's happening with a lot of people right now. So if you feel this way, if you feel like things are falling apart and you're like, what the actual fuck is going on? Maybe sit with it and have the perspective that this is supposed to happen. Maybe you felt something intuitively, like you had a gut feeling, this job isn't for you, this friendship isn't for you, this relationship isn't for you, and you just ignored it and you tried to push through and you tried to hang in there. And if you're a control freak like me too, maybe you had a feeling of like, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep trying. And then it falls apart anyway, right? Like it comes to a head anyway, and you're like, damn, I don't have a choice. I have to let this go. This could be a season, and I feel that it's a season for a lot of us to learn what it means to surrender and let go, and how necessary learning this is in order for us to build a life that we really want to live. And not just a life that feels comfortable, but a life we genuinely want to live. Because I think that's where I think over the past couple of years really got stuck was I wanted to be stable. I wanted to be mentally well. I didn't want to feel like I wanted to die every day. Trigger warning, but it's true. I didn't want to feel like I hated being on planet Earth and it's ghetto here and the aliens can come eat me every day. I could just right off a cliff every single day. I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And so I've really hyper focused on my mental health for a while. And I did the traditional and then I did the untraditional and then I found community and then I isolated and I did all the things, right? And it's like, okay, I am stable-ish and comfortable-ish, but I'm not happy. Now I'm not fucking happy. What's going on? And it's not a depressed mental illness type of situation. It's like, no, you're deeply unfulfilled. Now you're deeply unfulfilled. Now you can see that because you've done enough healing work to be able to have that self-awareness now to where like you're not in crisis mode anymore. You're not in survival mode anymore. Your nervous system's starting to regulate a little bit. And there's some things you are processing and trauma you're releasing. And now you're starting to see that you've been settling in all areas of your life because you weren't well. And now that you're becoming well, you can see. So I feel like it's a symptom of healing when you get to a place where it's like, okay, nothing feels aligned, like everything feels off. I'm not interested in these people that are my friends anymore. I don't care what they say. I'm not interested. I don't care. And you feel like a shitty person. And you're like, oh, damn, I should care more. But I don't. I don't care. And then you're kind of like going crazy because you're like, I feel obligated to these people. I love these people. But at a certain point, you just have to accept, listen, it's not for you. That's okay. It's just not for you. It's time to let it go and allow space for what's meant for you to come in. Because if what you genuinely want is to live a fulfilled, happy life, then surrender is and letting go and surrendering is required. And yeah, I said all of those words just to say that's where we're at, people. If you are going through this right now, you're probably I'm sorry to throw out astrology because I know not everyone, whatever. Astrology is real though. If you're a mutable sign, the energy is shifting. Okay. You probably feel this. You probably feel this. Cardinal signs too, probably. You probably feel this for real. I am a Sag Sun, Virgo Moon, Gemini rising, so all mutable. So yeah, it's hitting. It's hitting. I feel like I'm both losing my mind and having the biggest breakthrough of my entire life. And I've been like jokingly saying like this could go one of two ways. This could end up being rock, 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 rock bottom or like the best season of my entire life. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. So this is me practicing surrendering. And I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna feel for some of you who have controlled things for so long and stuck it out, feeling like you have to, you're morally obligated to whatever. It's gonna feel like you've given up. And you might also feel like you were losing your mind. And I'm not gonna say it's okay because it doesn't feel good. And if you need support, I hope that you can go out and find the support that you need because I think it's going to be necessary to have that support this season. I'm riding with my deities and my spirit guides. That's my team, and then the few good people in my life. Um, but if you need like a therapist or whatever you need, community, seek that out because this is a roller coaster and we're all on it. Um, but I'm excited at the same time. So that's why I'm smiling like a maniac because it's kind of fun. Sometimes I get in these modes where I kind of zoom out and I'm like, I'm a human. This is what humans do. We learn and grow and evolve. Interesting. And I feel like when I'm overwhelmed and I zoom out and I have the perspective of like just looking at my life like it's a Sims game, um, I don't know if that helps anybody else, but it helps me. I'm trying to learn how to do that, how to zoom out and have that bigger perspective without completely like detaching and disassociating, because that's been my struggle. Sometimes I'm like too far up in the ethers where it's like I've become so detached and I don't care anymore. And now I'm apathetic, and that's a problem. So, anyway, I'm just rambling. I digress. But surrender. It's time to let go. Let it go. If something has been on your heart that you need to focus more energy here and you need to pull back your energy here, do it. This is the time, okay? I'm encouraging you to do it. And don't just listen to me because you think I'm like manic or unwell, which is partially true. But do it because this is how you learn how to choose yourself. Surrendering is part of learning how to choose yourself. It's learning how to build the life you really want. And we all are sitting around talking about how can we do that? How can we do that, especially in a world like this, too, right? It seems impossible. And I think there's so many people in, the spiritual space, in the manifestation space, in the quantum whatever space that are making it kind of feel like this magical thing because it feels impossible. And that's the truth. From a grounded perspective, these things feel like you have to be a little bit insane. But the one thing that I'm learning though is that honestly, though, the people who are a little bit delusional are the ones who are doing it and they're making it because you kind of have to. If you only go based on the shitty experiences that you've had so far, the shitty things you see in the world, that's all you're going to continue to experience. That's all you're going to see, you know? I don't remember what it's called, but it's just like when you get a car and now suddenly you see that car everywhere. You never saw that car before. It's like a perspective shift. And so I have to keep reminding myself that if I want to live this life, I can't fall into the trap of believing it's impossible. And I can't be in spaces with people who have limited mindsets and they don't think it's possible because you don't get to where you want to be with that mindset. And as someone from the lineage that I come from, it's like there had to be a great deal of faith and hope to get us to where we are now, even if there's still work to be done. There had to be so much hope to believe that in the possibility of freedom and liberation and joy from people who never experienced that. Like, think about that. Like, our ancestors, many of us, our ancestors went through things that we can't even imagine. It had to take some level of hope, right? And I do feel like that's something that has kind of been like shitted on lately, is having hope, right? People are like, don't have kids, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, yes, the world is crap, but also it's always been. This isn't new. We can see it now because of technology. We have access to way more information than anyone throughout any point in history. Of course, we're overwhelmed. We know too much. People who know too much are always insane and unwell. That's why we're all insane and unwell. Think of every great, like, you know, any great intellectual person who's ever existed was insane because knowing too much is going to lead to insanity. We have way too much access to one another and to one another's thoughts and just to everything that's happening in every corner of the world. Of course, we're going to feel like the world is the shittiest it's ever been. It's not, though. It's not. I don't know if y'all remember the dark ages. They was murking people every day out there. It's been rough on this planet for some time, okay? We can't lose hope. And so I didn't mean for this to turn into a conversation about hope, but I feel like a lot of these kind of go hand in hand. To surrender to what's required for you to have the life of your dream also requires you to hope that you can have that, like that you can live a good life and that this world can become a better place. All of those things go hand in hand. And so I just really hope that like your experiences and the things you've gone through and the things that you've settled for, the things you feel tied to that are holding you back, that you really let it go. I'm learning when we're doing this together. We're learning how to do this together. And I hope that you also have hope that it's possible for you to live the life that you want and that you can be happy, that you can have people in your life who love you and see you and appreciate you and hear you and are honest and vulnerable with you. And you can also be in environments that make you feel good and you can do the things you've always wanted to do. It's possible. I really hope and pray that everybody that comes across this is able to feel this and believe this and let go of whatever messed up, whatever you need to let go of so you can allow it in. And I'm just gonna leave it there. I just came here to say that this is the season of surrender and it's hard and it's rough and I'm tired and I'm sure you're tired, but we'll get through this. And that's all. That's all for me. Stay connected. If you feel so called to do so, I will be back. I always come back. Um, and if you made it this far, I appreciate you. And I'm sending you lots of love as you move through this eclipse season. And until next time, bye.